Welcome to the Pennywise Financial Podcast. This is Constantine here at Monarch Wealth Management with a special guest today, Rocky Lalvani. Welcome to the show, Rocky.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to chat with you today.
Likewise. And I try to bring value to our listeners, to our clients, to our prospects, maybe a friend, a family member, a colleague, anyone who can get some value out of this. These ideas don't have to be my own. I prefer they were not. We bring in guests from pretty much every aspect of either tax planning, investment planning, consulting. So why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
So I run my own business, and what I do now is I work with small business owners. I was shocked to learn that most small business owners weren't looking at their spreadsheets, weren't looking at their accounting systems, weren't looking at their finances. I just assumed if you were a business owner, you understood the business of business. And what I came to realize is that most business owners love what they do, and accounting isn't on the list. But the reality of it is, if you want to run a business, you've got to be profitable. You have to have cash flow. You have to make sure that all of that stuff is done. And when I realized how much this was lacking, I realized, hey, wait a minute, this is my true skill set that's just natural to me, that I do both in my personal life and I do it in my business life, because they're just universal principles of how to work with money. I was like, I could really help these people and bring tremendous value and have fun. And so I, took the time to research and learn, and then I started my own business, and that's what we do. And then part of that, I realized that there were parts of my business that I hated doing. And so I partnered with Mike MacLeod and Profit First to say, okay, give me all the parts which are creating a lot of the materials and the systems and so forth. Y'all go out and do all the running around talking. Let me just work with people and help them be financially successful. So it's been a great partnership, and I get to do what I love, and I help people to be financially successful. So all the things that you talked about when you did your intro, you said, you help people to do investments and do all of these different things. They all require one thing: excess cash. So until you have excess cash, you can't do any of that. My goal is to help people have excess cash so you can help them take that cash and grow it and use it wisely.
Isn't that incredible? And it makes you wonder. I mean, a business owner, like you say, they may enjoy every aspect of what they do, but usually accounting is not on that list. Usually investment is not on that list. When I meet with business owners and we talk about retirement plans, they're not so interested in all the bells and whistles. They want to get something set up, something in place, but they typically don't want to spend a lot of time on it, and they certainly don't want it to be a burden. They don't have a passion for that. Otherwise, they'd probably be in finance or accounting. You wear a lot of hats as a business owner. We do. We all do. You do it. I do it. Business owners, depending on which aspect of the business you're in. There's so many things to do, and you can't do it. You can't be a master of every aspect of your business. So we hire out the professionals, the aspects that we don't want to touch or spend time on. So you obviously have a passion to help people. So how did you and Michael connect? How did that come about?
So honestly, I was spending a lot of time in the personal finance space, and I was trying to build a business in the personal finance space from a little bit different than what you do. I realized that becoming a millionaire wasn't that hard, and I could show people how to do that. Here's the problem. And Warren Buffett says it best. He goes, nobody wants to get rich slowly. Okay. Everyone will give me 10 grand if I can make them rich this weekend, but nobody will give me $1,000 if I can make them a millionaire in 10 years. And so I realized that there was this, even though it makes sense, there was this struggle. And as part of this journey, trying to figure it all out, I got introduced to the book Profit First. And I started getting introduced to people who were like business owners suck at their numbers. You seem to be very good at it. And so I just started exploring that niche, and I realized, wait a minute, they need help. They're willing to pay, and they're willing to take the time to do it right. They're different than the average person who just gets excited and is trying to win the lottery, this weekend. And I spent some time just studying the niche, testing it out, talking to a lot of different people. And then one day we just said, all right, let's do it. Ripped the Band-Aid off and went all in.
So what do you think? I mean, I work with a ton of different types of business owners. We're in upstate New York. That tends to be where the majority of our client base is. So we've got a lot of rural areas, farmers, we've got doctors, we've got some industrial type workers. But, I have two different business owners. They run the same type of business. Could be, could be two farmers running, I don't know, their cattle farm, let's say. One is wildly successful, wildly profitable. The other has the same type of business model, but they're struggling paycheck to paycheck. What do you find the biggest issue is with most of the clients that you work with? Or where's the area where most could use improvement?
So I think the difference probably with those two business owners is one of them has a financial dashboard. One of them knows what their cost of inputs is. One of them knows where their money is going. One of them is making decisions based on the facts and the math of their business. The other one is probably running by their gut instinct and the seat of their pants and making decisions about what feels good this moment without ever taking the time to run the math. So every business is a math equation. If you can figure out your math equation for your business, then you can truly start to tweak it and put your focus and your efforts where that works best. But if you don't understand the math equation for your business, then you're really going to struggle. So, and each business is slightly different, but the same equation still works. A certain amount of people need to know that you exist. Correct? So they have an awareness that you're in business. And then they're going to come check your business out because they want your potatoes. But if that's you're a potato farmer, right? The question is, how many of those people are converting to buying your product? All right. What's the average sale? How much are you spending on marketing to get them in the door? The problem is these marketing people are really good at one thing, selling you that you need their marketing. They really suck at selling your potatoes.
Isn't that the truth?
So we waste a lot of money, right? And that is the problem. And then once we know, okay, we're selling these potatoes, is selling the potatoes covering our overhead? Right? Is it covering the cost of inputs? Is it covering the cost of labor? And, I don't know about farmers. I know about construction people. And we always say there is an inverse relationship with how new, how fancy, and how big the pickup truck is to how profitable they are, right? Most of these guys don't realize, I need $100,000 truck to go into business. Well, if you've got a business with a 10% profit margin, you need to sell $1 million just to break even on the truck. And they don't realize that. And so they buy this fancy truck because no one's going to do business with you because of your fancy truck. They're going to do business because they have a problem that needs solved. But the business owners waste all this money and they don't realize how hard they have to work to pay for those decisions. And that's a big part of what we help them do, is to understand that. And it's not difficult. I tell people this is third grade math. You don't have to be smarter than a fifth grader. Right? It's not that hard, but you got to do the napkin math and see if it makes sense for you.
I mean, it really doesn't sound like it. I think of clients when they come in and they ask me, I have some prospects that have been in my office that say, geez, Constantine, this is great. I love your story. I love what you're doing. I manage my own money. I do this. I pick stocks and I say, what's wrong with what I'm doing? We go through it and I say, there's nothing wrong with what you're doing. I could change my oil. I could change my brakes. Do I want to? Do I want to spend the time and focus? It's a full time. And certainly with brakes, you don't want me changing your brakes. But it sounds like it's really the knowledge and understanding of every aspect of your business, from the cost, the input, the profitability, the revenues. You know how many business owners I work? So I'm Greek. We grew up in the restaurant business, and I can remember being 13 years old, washing dishes and working my way up and hosting and serving and eventually bartending. And so, but you meet with a few different, and the Greeks typically are pretty good about this because they reach out to each other. It's like a very close-knit network. Hey, what are you doing for the cost of beverages? Are you guys doing free refills? Oh, we'll do that too. We use plastic cups so they don't break. Things like that. They talk and they share ideas. But you'd be surprised how many business owners I meet with that own a restaurant that maybe not Greek and don't have a network of people that they talk to or consult with, and they have no idea. And I've had their food, and the food is incredible. I said, what does it cost to make that dish? I don't know. Beats me. Okay, well, what does it cost for the ingredient? I don't know. Like you said, they love what they do. They love their trade. They have a passion for it, and they're very good at it. But they're not tying in the other part of it, which is you're not in business just out of the kindness of your heart. You got to pay the bills, right? And you want to see some profits from all your hard work. And getting the people to realize that, I think it's maybe taking a look at the business in a different lens, and you're helping them to do that. And so are your meetings, so how do you run your meetings? Are you meeting with a business owner and looking at financials and then kind of going through a dialogue with them? How does it work? How do meetings work with you?
We have an underlying framework that we use. So we use a couple of different frameworks. One of them is Profit First. And then the second one is dashboards that we create, in that we actually personalize to the specific business owner and their needs. Couple things that I want to, let's talk about a couple things first. First, all business owners have the wrong equation for profit. Everyone told it's sales minus expenses equals profit. Okay, so where's profit in that equation?
At the very end.
Right? Well, no wonder they struggle. What if you did sales minus profit equals expenses? Now you pay yourself first. Oh, is there something that you've heard before? Pay yourself first. Sales minus profit equals expenses. So now the thought process, we need to constrain our expenses. It's no longer just a business expense. So that is the underlying principle of what we do. The second thing we do is understand that you've got a couple of different reports in your business. You've got a P&L, and this is what business owners tell me about the P&L. They tell me, my P&L says I was profitable, but there's no cash in the bank. Well, P&Ls and cash don't equal each other, right? Most business owners are not looking at their balance sheet. Most balance sheets are wrong. And hardly anybody is looking at the balance sheet from month to month to measure the change. Your cash disappears on the balance sheet. And if you have no idea what's on the balance sheet or how to look at it or how to read it month to month and see what the changes are and figure out where Waldo is in the picture, you're going to struggle. That is not, by the way, you know who's excellent at reading balance sheets?
Who's that?
The same guy I quoted at the beginning, Warren Buffett. Knows them inside out, right? So that's where the money is. And then the third thing is your cash flow report. Where is your cash actually going? How much is leaking out of your business as a business owner because your spouse has a company credit card and your kid needed X, and it's all the extra stuff you shoved into the business that you have no idea that's going there. What we do is we look at all of that. We look at your bank balances. We look at your reports. We take it all. We then discern from there the most important things. And then we come to you every month and we say, this is what we said we were going to do. This is what's happening. And here's the part of your business that if we can work on, we can help you to have a growing and more profitable business. And so a lot of it is brainstorming. What's the next step? What can we do differently today to help you to be more profitable tomorrow? And so when I say profit, to me, profit is cash in the bank.
So when this happens, it's more of an understanding, a comprehension, an analysis of what is going on in the business, what things cost, what they're spending money on. Is there like a light bulb that goes off, like an aha moment where you see a lot of your clientele say, oh, I'm spending X, like you said, wife's got a company credit card, we're buying this. Is it more spending on the business and maybe things that are not deemed necessary? Like you said, buying that truck that you might not need, it's not going to add any value to your business, or is it personal spending?
It varies. Everybody's got a problem. It's figuring out what that person's issue is. So let's go back to the restaurant business. I used to I had a friend and he made wonderful food. We used to go to his restaurant all the time. I used to yell at him all the time. You're not charging enough money. He had a pricing problem. Okay. You fix your pricing problem, everything else will work. Now, he also had a second problem. His cost of goods were too high, but that was because he was buying premium products, but he wasn't charging premium pricing. And so that's kind of where the thing comes. Some people, it's an overhead problem. Some people, it's a too much spending problem in their personal lives. They're using their company as a piggy bank. Some businesses build this big business and it's too big for their business model, right? So they have too much overhead. They got too big a building, too many people. There's no efficiencies in it. Nothing, or it's all stuck in the owner's head. All the recipes in my head. When something goes wrong, you, the owner, have to answer every question. And so they're working too hard. They're struggling. It's figuring out where in this spectrum is the problem. Or it could just be they don't sell enough. Maybe they've got everything perfect, but they're not generating enough revenue. So then now we have a marketing problem. So it's figuring out where does the problem exist and what's the next step we can do to fix it.
Yeah, I can tell you restaurants from experience. They hold a special place in my heart. It runs through my veins. And I can't tell you how many times we meet with small family-run businesses where you've got a lot of chiefs in the kitchen and in many cases, a grandfather, a father, a very proud person who's built a business, an empire from nothing. And it's hard to let go of the reins and not hop in and do dishes and cook and serve. And it's like, okay, who's running the business? Who's running the business of the business? You're in there. You're another line cook. You're another dishwasher. It's not really going to help the business. You have to put trust and faith in those folks to help in building a team around you.
So let's talk about that. How many bags of shrimp are walking out the back door?
There you go. That's another thing.
You know that, right?
Yeah.
Next question. Yes. What happens if you screw up when you're cooking? It's a complete loss, right?
It is.
You cook a steak that's supposed to be medium rare and you make it well done, there's $20 out the door. You are not making money on that client anymore, right? I over-ordered produce. You know what's going to happen. It's all spoilage. Waste. So the question is, which of these things is occurring in your restaurant? And how are you putting processes and procedures in place to make sure that they don't? Do you know that Mondays are slow and Fridays are heavy? And are you properly planning for all of that? Do you have a way to say, okay, hey, we've got a bunch of extra stuff in the back on Saturday, afternoon, because Friday didn't go as well as it wanted. Guess what today's special is going to be? What I have an excess of in the back, right? How do I take my excess, do something different with it, turn it into a special, and then charge a premium price for it?
It's funny when you say premium price. When I meet with a lot of business owners, I find that they undercharge for just about everything. And if it's a service they're delivering, oh, they're not going to pay that. I'm not worth that much. I find people go in the opposite direction. They don't have faith, conviction in what they do. They don't think that their product or service is a premium service. And I have some that are mediocre, but others that give and deliver like a white glove premium service, and they're not charging for it.
That's literally what I do. I do accountability, I do awareness, and I give them the courage to make decisions. And I'll tell them, double the price.
As you go through this process, so it's kind of a diagnosis of what's going on, identifying the problem, knowledge and understanding of the business. They have this aha moment, and they find a remedy. What's the protocol? What's the follow up? Is this a program that folks will stick with and improve and do better? And how does that work as you go through this cycle?
Yes. So like I said, a big part of what I do is accountability. So I'm really good about going, you said you're going to do X. Did you do X? And
it's funny how that works.
So pretty good. Not everyone's perfect, but we create so one of my guys said, you need to do X. He's like, I'm going to keep forgetting. He goes, can you text me every morning and remind me? I'm like, yeah, I'll text you every morning and say, go do this until you do it.
Really?
Yeah. So how long does that take me?
Right.
3 seconds?
Right.
Come on. So yeah, I text him every morning because he needs that, right? That's him. Somebody else might need something different. Usually though, when you show them awareness, when you show them the math, more often than not, they get pissed at themselves, which gives them the motivation to go do it. When they realize, hey, wait a minute, this isn't fair or this isn't whatever, they get fired up and they realize that they have to make it because they realize if they don't, they see what the outcome is. And I'll be honest, if you tell me, there's a couple businesses that if you tell me you're in them, I'm just going to groan. One of them is the restaurant business.
Oh, tell me about it.
You know that. Here's another one that's surprising. E-commerce on Amazon. It's these guys, $3 million in revenue, and they lose money. Right? But it's so sexy. I got a $3 million business. There are certain businesses that are just hard. There's other businesses that are easy. You said you deal with doctors. Well, a doctor doesn't have to work that hard to charge a premium price. He automatically gets it in a sense. And so, he doesn't have to worry that much. He's got to get his ego in check and he's got to get his luxury lifestyle in check. Same thing for attorneys, ego and luxury lifestyle. Both of them, when they go through school, are never taught business. There's no math class in law school, right? Doctors, if they talk about money, that's frowned upon in their training. Wait a minute, you're going to run a multi-million-dollar business and we're not allowed to talk about money? Like, that's a recipe for disaster. And that's funny, the problem.
We work with a few therapists, and a lot of them have switched over from not taking any type of insurance. And they did an analysis and they ended up losing, let's say, 20% of their business. But instead of collecting pennies on the dollar, 55 cents per dollar, they're capturing 100%. So they end up working less, making more with less clientele. And that's scary for a lot of people at first.
That is what it is all about. So there's another group that has trouble with pricing power. Oh, but I need to help people. You do. And you know what? You need to have enough money to help yourself. And so therapists really struggle with that. And then on top of that, their margin on so if I'm a therapist and I hire another therapist to work in my practice, the question is what percent of my revenue is going to pay for that therapist? If they only see 15 people this week, I assure you, you're going to lose money on them. because they haven't had enough client visits. And so there's a very tight line because the margins are so tiny that you've got to make sure that they are efficiently being seen with clients, because you don't get paid to fill out paperwork. You don't get paid to argue with the insurance company. You get paid to sit in front of a client, and the question is, insurance company pays you X, pays you 100. Insurance company Y pays you 150. We're dumping insurance company X. We're not seeing their patients, because if they're not going to pay a reasonable rate, we're not going to do business with them until they come back and pay market rates.
Yeah, it's funny. Every line of work has its own set of problems. I think of we have a barber shop as a client, and he runs, I think, maybe 12 to 15 chairs, collects chair rent, and then obviously they take a little override on the cuts. There's only so many hours in the day. There's only so many haircuts you can actually do. So time is a problem, unless you want to work nights and weekends, and even then. When you do the math and you back into the number of hours you put in versus what your hourly rate is, that's not I used to do consult work for Harrah's Entertainment down in New Jersey, Vegas, Iowa, riverboats, Indian reservations. We would go in, analyze different aspects, and they were usually food and beverage, which is, again, kind of my home, it's a special place in my heart. And I'll tell you what, who I found in the casinos had it right was the cocktail servers, men and women. They work 3 to 4 hour shifts. Back then, I mean, we're going back, I don't know, 20 something years. They were averaging maybe $200 to $500 a day for that 4 hour shift. I could tell you as their manager, as a consultant coming in, nobody was making more than they were per hour. Talk about maximizing the amount of time and effort for pay. They had it right. And the people who were managing them weren't making as much as they were. It's incredible.
It is. And again, it comes down to certain businesses are highly profitable. Go get yourself in a highly profitable business. So even if you just go back to the same concept of the restaurant business, if you're going to be a waitress or a waiter, I can tell you the worst meal to serve is breakfast. Right? Because if you got a $10 check, what are you going to make? $1.50, $2, $2.50? At dinner time, you're working just as hard, but your $10 check is now $100, and you just made $20 doing the same exact work. $1.50 versus $20, and you got to sleep in. I'm working at the night shift, and I'm working at a restaurant where the meals are super expensive, because I'm just guaranteed to make money.
Yeah, it's so
Go
true.
where the fish are.
I like that. I don't know why some business owners don't feel compelled. They feel obligated sometimes to help everyone who walks through the door. I don't. I don't think my time is best used for clients that maybe don't fit the market that I'm looking to help, the segment of people who are looking for that type of help. Clients who have, between 10 and 20 million in assets in upstate New York require a different level than somebody mom and pop, between $500,000 and $1 million in assets, looking to make the most of that retirement money and looking at Social Security, pension, reducing taxes, coming up with a plan. When you help those folks, there's a sense of appreciation versus me adding a few million extra to, some executives' bottom line. But I think it's finding your niche, knowing who you address, which market you address best, where you enjoy spending your time, who you're helping, and, sticking to it. And I think charging what you're worth, and people have a hard time doing that.
They do. And I don't disagree with you at all. That's only one money script. There are so many money scripts out there that people don't realize that their money behaviors are unconsciously driven. And most of their money behaviors were created when they were between the ages of 5 and 12. So it's no wonder that people struggle with money because they're all acting like 10-year-olds with money.
Do you think it has to do with the family?
That,
like growing up, depending on your culture, things like that, how you talk about money or hear your parents?
Of course, where do you think the programming comes from? If your parents told you you have to work hard to make money, do you think you can find a job that's easy to make money at? No, because you have to work hard. What if your parents told you that rich people are evil? Are you going to want to be wealthy? No, I don't want to be evil.
No.
Right? And this is why the average lottery winner or the average person who gets an inheritance is back to where they were within a few years, because they're not comfortable in that space. Right? That's just the reality of it. We all have a money thermostat, so to speak, where we're comfortable at a certain space. If you're comfortable at this amount of money, then you stay there. But if you're not comfortable and you expect a much bigger amount, then you'll expect a much bigger amount. I think that's the biggest thing people need to ask themselves is a couple questions. The first one being, money is, and fill in the blank. What is money to you? And ask yourself, what are your behaviors with money? What are your unconscious beliefs and conversations? So, I'll go out somewhere, we'll have a conversation. And because I'm a money guy, I'm always listening to the unconscious money conversations. Oh, we went out to this fancy restaurant. We're back to restaurants, right? We had this wonderful dinner. Oh, I could never afford that. That's the comment that comes underneath the breath, right? What are they doing? They're limiting themselves. They don't even see it as a possibility to work towards. And that happens a lot more than you think.
Yeah, I've talked about this on other shows. We've had 10 lotto winners. And when I say lotto winners, I don't mean 5,000, 10,000, north of $1 million. Out of those 10 lotto winners, we have one who has funds to their name. And like you said, I think it's a mindset. These people that win $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, give half up to the government, and they walk with 500,000, 700,000. They're still playing the lottery. They're still trying to win. And I think when I meet with a client that's worked all their life, and they have $5-10 million in assets, right? You've already made it. There's no reason to risk a lot of that. And, but these people, think of the type of person who's playing the lottery. And I'm not talking going and buying a lotto ticket every now and again because jackpots are pretty large. These are people who are at bars, who are constantly playing, maybe degenerate gamblers. The excitement is there. And listen, I'm Greek, so I see it even in our heritage where you get a lot of, they love to get the excitement of folks in the casinos. Same thing. You get somebody that wins a jackpot, you think they're going to stop going to the casino. They're not there to win and satisfy a need, a fulfillment of making money. It's the excitement, the passion, the drive of the gamble. What's going to happen? What's going to be the outcome? And they like that.
So as a casino owner, you know what their thought process is? Nobody ever wins. Occasionally, we lend a few people some money.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Casino floor, we generate, the outcome. X
the outcome.
Goes into the machines, Y comes out, but it's never more than comes in.
There's a simple business model.
Yeah. It is. It definitely is. So I guess to wrap things up, how would folks reach out to you, learn a little bit more about your program, your services? What's the best way to do that?
So before they do that, can I ask them a favor?
Please.
So how many of you enjoy what Constantine's doing for you? How many of you have been so kind to say thank you by hitting the like button? How many of you have friends and family members who need to hear about money? Have you hit the share button and shared his episode so that you can help your friends do better or your family do better with money? Go do that first. It's a great way to say thank you. And then after that, if you want to come check me out, my podcast is Profit Answer Man. It's on all the platforms that you can find me. And you can learn. We talk about business finance. And we also do talk about personal finance on my other podcast, which is Richer Soul. And it's all about money and how do we use it appropriately.
Love it. Great ask, Rocky. Appreciate that. Appreciate your time. Good to chat today. Thanks again for listening to the Pennywise Financial Podcast. Thanks again for joining us, Rocky Lalvani.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Pennywise Financial, brought to you by Monarch Wealth Management. Constantine and David really care about their clients. They want to make sure you're happy, so you'll continue to hire them. There's no commitments, and clients are free to leave whenever they want. Think about being able to pick up the phone and call someone for guidance and advice on almost anything, from buying a car, selling a home, buying vacation properties, or even selling a business. Reach out on the website at monarchwealthmanagement.com. There are 2 offices in Rochester and 2 offices in Buffalo. Reach out to us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube, or call us toll-free at 800-480-1580. That's 800-480-1580. Until next time, this is Pennywise Financial, signing off.
The opinions voiced in this program are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities are offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, and SIPC.